Hate it or love it, Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States. What does that mean for the real estate market? That's what we're breaking down in today's video. Hi, my name is Chris Cox, and I am a licensed real estate broker here in the Raleigh area of North Carolina, where I have been selling real estate since 2008. I am also a licensed mortgage loan originator, as well as a North Carolina Real Estate Commission approved instructor. And what does that mean? That means I like to help people buy, sell, and invest in real estate, as well as having the privilege of being able to help real estate brokers get their continuing education credit and improve their skills in the craft. But today I want to talk about the election results, what that means for the real estate market, and just talk about some of the policies that Donald Trump had put out on the campaign trail and those effects that those could have on the real estate market. So let's first talk about the history and the trend behind what happens after presidential elections in real estate in the United States. So we have a good track record of what happens the year following. So let's take a look at that as our first example here. So good news is in that 9 of the 11 past presidential elections, home sales and number of units actually go up the year following a presidential election. So that is great news. I've been talking to lots of people all year long that said, hey, we're going to wait until after the election to decide what we want to do with our house. So now we know what is going to happen. Now, what can we do to move forward? Without a doubt, one of the top priorities of both campaigns was centered around housing affordability. So what has Donald Trump put out there that he has said he intends to implement? So we're going to talk specifically about 4 policies that I was able to find through some research, and some specifically right in Agenda 47. So the first one is going to be around deregulation. So he has campaigned significantly around deregulation, cutting a lot of the red tape that is out there specifically for home builders. And lowering the cost of building new construction houses, which is really ultimately the gateway to getting housing supplies available out there. So deregulation. Now, what does that look like from a logistical perspective? Well, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump regularly said that housing regulation costs are about 30% of new construction costs. Now, I'm not sure where that number comes from. I'm going to pull up a study from the National Association of Home Builders. This is their biannual report that they put out there. This is the cost of new construction, single-family cost breakdown, and you'll see site work, which is a lot of the red tape that goes on behind as far as building permits, fees, impact fees, water, sewer inspections, all of that, only comes out to about 7.4% of the total cost of construction. So he intends to pull back deregulation. We'll see what kind of effect that has on the overall affordability of new construction. Theoretically, bring the cost down to build, and that would lower the cost that home builders would charge for their new construction. Now, that may be a little short-sighted because if I can get $700,000 for a new construction house, and if that's what the market is telling me as far as supply and demand and market comparable sales data, I'm not sure that that's not going to just go. Any less regulation is not going to go just right into the builder's pocket. So that is policy number 1, is deregulation, and we fully expect that to happen at a national level for sure, an environmental level for sure. The other side of deregulation is a lot of that is controlled by the local and state governments. So I'm not sure what type of effect that a federal policy in that regards to deregulation would have on a lot of those local costs. So that's deregulation. Next one we talk about here, and this both parties did talk about being able to do, and that is releasing some of the federal lands and making them available for new construction projects or just building projects in general. So as of 2024, a large amount of federal land is available. However, as you can see from the map here, a majority of those federal lands that are available are towards the western half of the United States. So problem one is that with that solution is, and this is again for both parties there, this is not land that is easily accessible for new construction type projects or building type projects. If you look at that map, you can see a lot of them may be in terrains in areas that aren't really ideal for new construction or for massive building projects. But the theory behind that is we'll be able to take large tracts of land and release those at relatively cheap prices to builders or developers who want to develop that land, and that would bring the cost of housing down. Part two of the problem with that is that looking again where those are, they're not on the large population centers or where people want to work and want to live traditionally. So we have a lot of people who live on the coast. That is where a lot of the demand for housing is. So not sure again what type of effect that would have on the overall affordability because the demand may not be as high in those areas. But the theory would be, again, a lower cost land would lead to lower priced development, which would lead to lower priced housing. So that's a goal there, to make housing affordable there. So that's one and two. What is option number three? Solution number three, as far as what is Donald Trump's plan to make housing more affordable, is centered around his immigration policy. So the mass deportation policy, as one of the big tickets that Trump ran on, is to how does that affect the housing supply? Well, the theory behind that is, since so many undocumented immigrants are living in housing, that the deportation of those individuals would make more property available for citizens to live in and to occupy, which would raise the supply, which would hopefully then decrease the cost of those living. So the problem, two problems with that. One is a lot of that housing stock is not their rentals. So it may bring the cost of rentals in a lot of those areas down. However, I'm not convinced, and a lot of economists and senior economists out there are not convinced that that would make housing, from an ownership perspective, more affordable. It would bring down rental prices in several markets, which in theory could eliminate some investment money that would sit on the sidelines, or some people who had investment property would unload those investments because they weren't able to get as high rents on them, and that would make them available to a younger generation that may make them more affordable there. So that's part one. The other part of the immigration policy is that a lot of the construction workers or workers in the construction industries are undocumented immigrants. So what kind of effect would that have on the workforce and being able to build up that housing supply, which is ultimately the number one problem, is that we have a supply issue in new construction housings, which is the leading indicator of supply and demand as far as it goes to real estate. So as you can see here from the chart, 23% of the construction workers are reported to be, or anticipated that 23% of them are undocumented workers in just the construction field alone. Then you've got 19% as carpenters, 29% of painters and paper hangers are undocumented workers. So we eliminate, have a mass deportation policy on them that eliminates a lot of the workers in that industry. And what does that do to the availability of other workers who want to do those jobs, who are willing to do those jobs, to keep up with the construction pace that is needed out there to meet the demand. So not sure what kind of effect that would have. The other third part of what mass deportation policy effect may have as far as it goes to real estate is those undocumented workers that make up a large portion of the construction industry. They, on average, as this report shows, and all of the reports that I have sourced this data from will be in the description below, so you can take a look at the data sources themselves and see what you think of that. But on average, one of the reports, especially for this one, says that on average, undocumented workers earn about $3.12 per hour less for the same work in all of these fields that are listed here on the screen. So if we've got other people who are able to do that work, they're most likely going to demand a higher wage, which is going to bring up the cost of the new construction houses, which I'm not sure is going to favorably help affordability with those houses. So policy number 3, immigration, mass deportation, what kind of effect that is going to have. I'm not sure that's going to have the desired effect on the housing market, but you can make up your own decision on what you think about that. And then the fourth one, and there's not much information on how he intends to get this done, but the fourth one is he's going to lower interest rates, which is going to make housing more affordable. There really wasn't much meat on any policies that I could find as far as how President Trump is going to make that happen, other than he's going to attempt to force his hand on the Federal Reserve, which to keep the Federal Reserve rate low. The theory behind that would be that would then impact mortgage rates and keep those mortgage rates low. However, if early indications from the results of this week on the mortgage market are any indicator, that is not going to be the effect. That could just be, of course, the short-term shock waves that the investment world is feeling right now. That is, the market is definitely reacting positively to the announcement of a President Trump victory in the election. But we'll see what a long-term effect that has on interest rates and what President Trump intends to do, how he intends to get the lower interest rates, which are a large problem. I have not seen anything in concrete what he intends to do to get those rates low. It could be through first-time home buyer grants. It could be federally funded kind of rate buy down, so to speak, so that a first-time home buyer is able to qualify for a little lower of a rate, and that is government supplemented for that buy down. I'm not sure on that. We'll see what happens with that. So those are the 4 main policy as far as what I could see in Agenda 47 that looked like they would have an immediate impact or a long-term impact on the housing industry. But ultimately, what we're getting to here is that we have a supply and demand issue, and we've had this pent-up demand issue for over a decade. So on the screen here, you will see new construction completed homes. This is pulled from data from the U.S. Census Bureau from 1980 to 2023. The black line going across there, that indicates kind of the average of all of the years combined as far as where new construction completions have ended up in each of those years. And you'll see from 2007 up until 2018 or 19, we were well below that trend line. It is estimated that there are about 4 million houses short of what the demand is out there. And if you look at the numbers of the shortfalls in those dozen years or so, it equates to about 4 million houses short there. So bottom line, we just have not caught up with those lean years where we just weren't building because of the Great Recession there. So that is my story as far as it goes to what effects a Trump presidency could have on the real estate market. Only time will tell ultimately what these policies are, but I do feel it is super important for the public out there to be as educated about how those policies would affect a real estate market, and we'll see where it goes. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, give me a like or subscribe here. Subscribe to this channel. It would mean the world to me. And if you like what you saw here, beginning next Friday on November 15th, I will be starting a series called The Week in Real Estate, where I just recap all the national real estate trends as well as the local Raleigh market real estate trends, and just highlight some of the headlines in the real estate market so that you, as a real estate consumer or a real estate professional, can be educated on the ins and outs of the real estate market and what is actually going on at a macro level and nationally, and what is going on at a micro level where I serve in the Raleigh, North Carolina market. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the content. Hope you have a great day.